Accept the joys and sufferings of life to make it beautiful. In this busy world today, man is always busy. Because of this rush, they always compete with each other, and in the process it is clear that one wins and the other loses. When a man achieves something or wins, he or she feels a sense of exaltation, while when he or she loses, he or she is doomed or pessimistic. It is a known fact that on this earth, when the sun rises in one part of this hemisphere, the other part is in darkness. The same goes for life. In life there is sorrow and joy. Thus life is like a boat sailing on the sea, which does not always flow smoothly. It is painful for a child to cry, because only then will the lungs begin to function. In fact, tears are just as necessary for man as oxygen itself. In excessive happiness, tears flow down his cheeks because suffering is their symbol. Tears maintain a healthy balance of life. If a person is not aware of the pain or suffering of life, he cannot understand the joys of life. For him, a sense of proportion is lost. Therefore, pain often rises out of joy to achieve balance. Each person must accept the pain of life, understand the true meaning of joy. Otherwise, you cannot feel joy. As the fall should come within a year, such ailments always follow everyone. If a person suffers from pain, the tears from his or her eyes soften the stretched and strained strings of his heart and mind. In fact, the fog disappears over the mind in the form of tears and tranquility arises. Some people think that life is only suffering. These people forget the joy they enjoyed in earlier times. Their discolored eyes are short-sighted because they forget to feel the basic law of happiness visiting them again in the future. Life's basic law, happiness and sadness coexist. Without one, the other is useless. The thorns of life serve as a fence to protect flowers from joy and sunlight. Even Shelley, the great English poet, said, "Our sweet songs are the ones that tell of sad thoughts." In fact, comedy and tragedy create the foundation of life. All experience patterns are woven with these contrasting threads. Smile sugar and spices to life, which otherwise becomes dull and monotonous. Even in the scriptures, it is written to calmly and without hesitation accept joy and suffering. He is urged not to be overly happy when success comes to him, and not to be afraid when he is plagued by pain and suffering. All the greatest people on earth have suffered from both joy and suffering. This is life, and you have to enjoy life this way. Love among people leads to a happy life. In this world, a person has a general psychology of being happy. However, it feels like not many people can feel it. Most people today spend most of their time collecting wealth, which they believe can bring them happiness. Only after wealth accumulates, however, do they feel miserable. Let's look at what the opposite of love does, that is, hate. Hatred, in turn, breeds hostility, and hostility. A person who does not have peace of mind cannot be happy. When hatred reaches its peak, it sometimes leads to physical abuse. Injections and killings result from harsh hatred. Happiness, of course, avoids both the killed and the killer. So why hate and are miserable? Isn't it better to love and achieve happiness? Unfortunately, when it's so easy to be happy, the vast majority remain unhappy. Where does love evoke a sense of love in humans? Love fills a person with noble feelings, compassion, sacrifice, compassion and understanding, the well-being of a loved one at his own expense, tenderness and sweetness. The lover is always ready to give his life for his beloved. In addition, he cares more about the welfare of his loved one. If, in any case, he is unable to get his beloved in marriage, he does not want her to fall ill. On the contrary, he breaks up with her, though unfortunately, but wishes her happiness in life. If only love could be accepted as a guiding principle in the lives of individuals, there would be no quarrel or divorce between married people. There would be no friction between parents and children, there would be no bitterness between friends, and no human exploitation of people. History shows that tyrants who were always deprived of love are people who did not receive love in childhood and adolescence and became ruthless seekers of power. Lack of love in a child's life can ruin his personality and mental state. Love alone can relieve many of the evils of society and is of course the basis of a happy life. After spreading to the international sphere, if the nations of the world practiced this wonderful principle, there would be no wars, mass killings, and widespread destruction. Awareness and self-determination. In the ordinary world, people are often overloaded with information and advice. It seems you are turning every corner, someone is trying to tell you how to build awareness and self-determination. With all the advertising and information, it is often difficult to decide what to listen to. When it comes to personality assessment, however, the vast majority of people run into difficulties. This is also one of the main reasons why most people ignore this as junk activity with no positive results. The methods of consciousness and self-determination are often problems associated with the processes of raising the level of consciousness and optimizing one's potential to the best possible level. Despite many fears, in today's world with a high dollar level, it is extremely important to move forward in self-development. Humans need to learn how to control their emotions, fears, etc. in order to survive. Pessimistic feelings, such as fear, depression, violence and anger, quickly spread among communal men as endemic. In addition, the fashionable lifestyle of independence, the growing separation of people, the urban loneliness and hostility increase. In the face of such circumstances, it is almost impossible for a person to always remain calm. Many people are becoming increasingly annoyed, frustrated and confused about these changes. The vast majority of people live in haste, work overtime and live in chaos. Because of these complications, people have little time to spend time with themselves. Inside each is hidden genius. However, because of the prevailing culture and inclinations that motivate people to materialistic activities, many people undermine the strength of the inner self. On the other hand, a person who invests his time in building healthy relationships with himself grows up to become more reflective, organized and aware of his thoughts and actions. Awareness and self-determination have several aspects that are very flawed, that is, spirituality. Mysticism is measured as a practice primarily by sages who live in remote countries or by older people. Some people also consider this a success or hoax of media attention adopted by some people to fool the masses by promising them inner peace and contentment. The world of religious research is misleading and often leads people astray. In fact, it is purely a personal choice whether or not the organization wants to practice religion. No doubt it has its benefits and can help a person to be calm if taken properly. Usually, our inner self is associated with the psychosomatic aspect of our personality. Unfortunately, the competitive world makes people try to beat others by competing hard. Many people have strong pessimistic feelings about their competitor, such as greed, disgust and anger. Self-control is very important for complete introspection. If a person does not control his hurt feelings, he or she cannot sit back and relax the mind to conduct an honest analysis of the inner I, so that he will only create more suffering for himself and the rest of the world. A person needs great courage and openness to lessen the negative side through acceptance. Furthermore, accepting and working on it are two completely different things. A person must be motivated and self-conscious enough to constantly eliminate negative traits. It may be shocking, but all it takes is a little courage, motivation, self-determination and a desire to improve and release the higher qualities hidden in every person, and then transform themselves to create professionally personal, social and social self-determination. A life. Behavior and self-determination. Learning how to change your behavior that defines your behavior and habits can help you maintain self-determination. As you transform your paths, you are likely to follow the quest for strength to move forward in the future to find your success. Don't waste your precious time wasting or letting others take care of you. Find a positive one and use it to your advantage. You cannot change anyone but yourself. Many people make this serious mistake in relationships. They often focus on changing their spouse rather than changing their paths. The most important thing to do is to maintain self-determination and reform your habits. Learn to trust and respect yourself so that you become stronger. Some useful actions you can develop are chastity. Chastity is a pure person, innocent of lies or other behavior that creates negative emotional charges. Thus, honesty is a policy that you will adhere to, relate to, and maintain to enhance your skills. Reliable is another good quality. When you trust others, they respect you and feel good about discussing issues you may have. You will find that people are more willing to follow your example when you are reliable. A virtuous and honest person is someone with righteous qualities, but not someone who uses biblical commands to his advantage. When you have virtue, do you show honest behavior, moral qualities, etc. that make others want to fall on your knees and ask you how you did it? By developing these qualities you will inspire others to join. As humans, we are naturally outgoing. By this I mean that it will be difficult for us humans when we isolate ourselves from others, especially if we are close to others. As humans, we must love and feel loved. We need to express, show and seek companions, but our social skills are what we need to analyze so that others welcome us. Again, you will build chastity, virtues and other useful traits that are guaranteed to lead you to success. Therefore, you can develop self-determination if you want to work in harmony with yourself. Once you have sync, you can do whatever you want. In addition, focusing on the here and now will increase your ability to use common sense. Practically, human development is a long process, so hold fast and hold on to self-determination. You can use common sense to compare what your child needs to make you happy. For example, compare your child with you to see the balance and environment by looking after you, that is, balance. Want to lie in wet clothes? Logically, you wouldn't do that. This is an example because undoubtedly not a single loving parent will allow his child to take enough care so he can relax in a wet diaper. Therefore, use common sense when taking care of yourself. You may not be aware of this, but if you adjust, you are dealing with some negative feelings hidden in your subconscious. This fear develops and hides frustration, uncertainty and fear of failure. When you ignore these feelings, you only set yourself up for failure. Turn this around and remove any doubts you may have. If in doubt about your abilities, contact yourself and make an assessment to determine where you are in doubt. Spending time with you will help you grow stronger and maintain self-determination. Behavior and self-determination. Some people find it difficult to develop skills because of the special behavior that has evolved over the years. When struggling with pre-structured behavior or genetically related behavior, this often makes it difficult to fight for self-determination. Usually with a little help, a good mentor, consultant, etc., a person can develop skills. This may take longer, but it's worth the wait. A person's behavior in relation to a situation can also affect how others see him. Their attitude towards others can also influence their behavior. It is necessary to change the attitude of oneself so that it develops and changes its self-determination. A person can be evaluated in any situation, to understand what he is going through, to understand him in any way. Maybe some kind of group therapy can also help, as the teacher can capture the feelings you may have when discussing questions. Some people may feel better if they first talk about things with others and listen to others, and they have problems that they may encounter or problems they encounter in everyday life. In a child, it may be something that happened to them emotionally or mentally. No one knows if these issues are not being raised. If a child has problems at home, it may be better for him to tell a complete stranger, that is, a counselor, so he can understand how to see things and not talk to a relative. A person can say a lot and can be a bit overwhelmed when talking to someone he knows. They may have something to say and be nervous in front of someone. For example, you may feel less restless or tired, and so a counseling session may help you in some way. Counseling can also help in other ways if needed. Given the cognitive approach, motivation sometimes crosses the lines of theory. For example, implicit motives can set in motion or cause someone to know without knowing to respond to something when a person does not know their intentions. By training the mind to learn, focus on the goal, you can help a person change unconstructive behavior. Sometimes consultants use basic techniques to measure the patient's memory. The process involves encrypting letters. When the letters are mixed, the subject is asked to select a few words from the letters. Letters in the first case must relate to success and in the second to relationships. During these tests, patients who chose success often showed a higher degree of motivation than those limited by relationships. Each page during these tests is often prepared using success-related terms or words. You can try homework to see if your child can progress and develop his or her motivation. In addition to the refueling method, you have other methods that help your child develop motivation and self-determination. It is a proven fact that we often develop behavior, whether consciously or not, and over time, the unconscious influence that behavior imposes on us will manifest in our behavior. We must constantly pay attention to protecting our human rights and to ensure that others do not affect our behavior. Another good strategy you can use is the pros and cons of testing. This test helps your child see the benefits of balance, good skills, motivation, etc. And also see the effects of the minuses. This is an effective therapeutic strategy that works.